Hello everybody, I am Shakti Sanja and this is your moon cycle 8. We've had 8 moon cycles, a new moon and then a full moon 8 times this year, and here's what happened. So this is an astrological summary and also my intuitive summary based on what I kind of felt for myself and the collective. So I hope this serves you. Please comment below what this moon cycle taught you and what you got from it, because all of us have a unique experience of it based on our own unique astrology. And if we're women or in feminine bodies, we have moon cycles that also affect us and our own hormones and our own energy. So all of that comes into play, but these are your collective messages. All right, so we started this moon cycle off with the second Cancer new moon of the year, which is very unique because it has shifted all of our moon cycles for the rest of the year so that they're not with their typical polarity. So what I mean by that is, as Ali, the Cosmic Space Witch, talked about in one of my latest podcasts, Shakti Waves Radio, is that we don't actually have 12 signs, we have 6 polarities. And so typically our full moons and new moons represent these 6 polarities, right? The new moon is in the sign of the season, and then the full moon is in the opposite sign. So typically when we have a new moon in Leo, like we had last night, we have a full moon in Aquarius. But because we had a second Cancer new moon, we had a Cancer new moon and then a full moon in Aquarius. Those are not paired up together. And what this is, the way that I'm interpreting this, is the pairings are actually a lot more feminine, a lot softer. They're not with their opposite elemental sign, right? Because typically a Leo new moon would be with Aquarius full moon. That's fire and air together, which amplifies that fire energy. But when you have, for example, this coming moon cycle 9, when you have a moon that's in Leo, that's in fire, and then a full moon in Pisces coming up, that's fire and water. And that water might temper that fire quite a bit, or it creates some steam. It creates a different elemental energy that I interpret as more feminine, more compassionate, more inward. So literally since this last moon cycle, we're having a totally different experience of each moon cycle for the rest of the year, which is a perfect thing to come after a big eclipse season. And doesn't it feel like we're all in a major shift together? So with that second Cancer new moon and with the Aquarius full moon that came on August 3rd, there was a lot of energy around using our intellect, using our higher mind, using our science, using our fact checking, and our ability to use discernment and analysis in our life, which is very powerful Aquarius energy, to be compassionate towards ourselves and to be compassionate towards others, right? That is the loving energy of the mother. It's essentially the moon cycle was teaching us how to have the intellect and the thoughtfulness of mothering energy for ourselves and for the world, right? So a lot of us started to look at different facts and figures around our own well-being, around the coronavirus, around everything going on in the world. We wanted to investigate in a way that was more compassionate, right? People are talking a lot about cancel culture, and they're talking a lot about how they want to cancel culture, because it's not a very forgiving or compassionate way to live. Brings up a lot of righteousness. It brings up a lot of needing to be right, and not allowing for other viewpoints and not allowing for compassion and nurturing of other people. So it was very powerful because this moon cycle was all about us letting the wisdom of the mother and how to mother ourselves, how to mother all of humanity, how to be mothers to the world, right? Take care of each other, steward the planet. It started to permeate our intellect. And with that came a lot of changes in the way that we fundamentally think. What I noticed for myself and for other people is what we thought was right, or what we thought was right for us, we soon realized that actually it didn't work, because Aquarius energy is all about us as individuals being fully expressed and letting our freak flags fly. But when that's paired with Cancer energy, it's all about us, yes, being individuals, but us being individuals in a way that is very soft and soothing to ourselves and soft and soothing to other people, and really very authentic to ourselves. So what do I mean by that? Lots of people, myself included, started to have their sense of like identity or who they thought they were or who they thought they needed to be start to come down, and they gave themselves a lot more softness and a lot more ease without as much pressure, without as much needing to be a certain way, right? Some people are letting go of titles that they've had for themselves for a really long time. I let go of this need to constantly even be on social media and constantly sharing by just giving myself more time to process and more time to enjoy the summer and be with my own self well-being rituals, right? So that's what I mean by that, is I still get to be my own individual. You still get to be your own individual self, but there's a lot more compassion and nurturing, and you're not forcing and pushing yourself to be somebody that you're not, right? So some masks fell off and you became even more of your own individual self, because that's in service to you and it's in service to the collective, right? Our own individual leadership of our own lives, and also who we are on this planet and who we are in our businesses and in our careers and in our families and relationships, gets to look different. We don't have to be superhuman. We get to be superhuman in the experience. So that's a lot of the energy that was really floating around. And then in addition, we had that really intense Scorpio first quarter moon. And typically I don't talk about first quarter moons, but there are 4 main moon cycles. So there's the new moon when there's no moon in the sky, the first quarter moon, it's half full, the full moon when it's fully full and illuminated, and then the third quarter moon. And then there's all of the phases in between, right? But the first quarter moon, when the moon was half full, it was in Scorpio. And what was being shown to us was a lot of our own deepest pain, a lot of our own deepest wounding. At this same time, Venus went into Cancer, and we also had, no, Venus didn't go into Cancer. Venus was square Neptune. So a lot of us had exes coming back up, a lot of our own relationship pain, a lot of our wounds from our childhood. It's never going to stop. Adulthood, what you get to look forward to is wounds from your childhood popping back up so you can heal them and then be a better parent to your own children or to your own inner child. Welcome to adulting in 2020. Who else is having a good time? I'm just trying to have fun with it. And sometimes I don't have a lot of fun with it. But, that week in particular, and this was the last week of July, July 27th is when it started, was really deep and intense. We were looking at some of the darkest stuff within ourselves and within society. Maybe you had really bad news that week. Some stuff was just really coming to the forefront. And you had a lot potentially to deal with or to sit with emotionally, right? It was like there was a death and rebirth process. Maybe some of you even dealt with actual death in your life, people dying, having losses, having grieving. That's been a theme as well of this moon cycle, just allowing things that aren't in alignment, that aren't soothing and nurturing to us, that aren't meant to be here right now, to fall away. And we don't need to understand why that's happening. A lot of the time we don't understand why we get sick or why something happens or why we have a mishap. I had my bike stolen 2 weeks ago around the Aquarius full moon, and we don't know why it happens, but it's calling us to trust. It's calling us to trust in the process of life even further. Okay. And then what we also had going on was a lot of Mars activity. So Mars was square Mercury at first, and then it squared Pluto, and then it squared Saturn, and then it squared Jupiter, and then it squared Saturn. So squares are always in astrology opportunities for positive conflict, right? Conflict that is necessary, right? There's confrontations that need to occur in life. And so Mars is that power, it's that energy that brings a lot of movement and fire and like gusto to an area. So what's been happening with these squares, and these squares are still happening, is that things that weren't working in the way that we were communicating came up. Things that weren't working in the way that our systems are present in the world came up. Things that aren't working in our groups and societies came up. Things that aren't working in the way that we're doing our own healing or the way that we're looking at, the mystery of life or occult information, etc., new age thinking came up. So there's been this like internal conflict. And last night in Moon Mastery, we were talking about it like a blender. It's literally like, hey, what about this way of communicating and that way of thinking about the world and this system and that program? All of it kind of went into a bit of a swirl, and it feels like there was a lot of conflict and challenges that might have really pushed you this last moon cycle and might still be pushing you because we're still in fiery Leo season. And the thing is, though, is it's here to teach you something. It's here for a necessary reason. If you went through a lot of conflict, turmoil, pain, very sudden changes, right? Mars energy can be very sudden, can be very hot, can be very fast, almost like a torpedo. This was for a reason, right? It's kind of like the goddess Kali Ma. She comes in and just cuts things very, very rapidly, right? And it can be very jarring and very sudden. But it's here to teach you something, and it's here to, in that turmoil, you start to look at things from a different perspective, and your frustration and your anger actually has you start to change things, right? So that is the energy of Mars, is it wants you to start to change things. So if you're feeling frustrated, heartbroken, angry this past moon cycle, that's a big reason why. And just know that it's here to teach you something, and it's here to help support you in being even a better leader of yourself, of your own body and mind, in your relationships and in your life, right? Being a leader isn't just about running a business or being a part of a community. It's about being, self-led, self-sovereign, and able to know why things are happening and then make decisions from a more empowered place. Okay. We also have another interesting relationship going on with Mars, which is the Sun and Mercury trining Mars here in Leo. So that also means that there's a lot of, now that the Mars is trine with Mercury, there's an opportunity for us to have better thoughts, better revelations. And by better, I mean like things that just make sense to us. Like the confusion is lifting, and we're able to better understand ourselves, better understand our situation, and then have more action towards it. So maybe you were frustrated by something in a relationship or how that was going, and then it felt like a lot of conflict and anxiety and stress happened, or maybe a massive dilemma occurred. And now when Mercury is trine Mars, there's like a level of thinking and breakthrough and communication that you're able to have, and there's positive movement forward, right? That's more in alignment to your highest good and to the highest good of all involved, right? Trine relationships that are always triangles are harmonious relationships. I always think of them as in the universe, in the great cosmos. So there's like an aha moment, a great epiphany coming to you, especially related to the way you've been thinking about things or communication. So you're maybe having communication breakthroughs. Maybe you're talking about things you've never talked about. And especially with Venus now in Cancer, Venus went into Cancer on August 7th, I believe. We're really, really sensitive when it comes to our relationships. We're heightened, we're super sensitive, and we're very emotional, but we're also very compassionate. We have a lot more love to give, right? So be very gentle with yourself and be very gentle with others. If you're communicating something, communicate it with love. There's always a way to communicate anything with love. There's a way to have thoughts towards yourself with love. So if you're being really hard on yourself, if you're having a lot of stress or anxiety, bring it back to love. Know that you're doing your best. We're all doing our best. We're learning a lot. These moon cycles are changing and shifting us. And we're coming into a way of using our intellect, using our way of looking at science and facts and figures and communication and relationships, the way we build our businesses. All of that is coming from a more nurturing, loving place. So with that all being said, enjoy the next moon cycle and what it has to teach us. It's a lot to do with our own leadership, and our leadership being here for humanity and allowing our own humanity to be present in our leadership. That's what the Leo new moon was all about last night. If you'd like the replay, you can catch it in Moon Mastery. The link is in my bio. Just DM me if you have any questions. If you want to get to know your own astro chart some more, you can DM me as well, or you can check out the link below. If you're watching this on YouTube, there's a link directly to book in for a session with me and get your astro chart read. Join us for the 9th moon cycle of ceremonies in Moon Mastery. I hope to see you there. The Pisces full moon is coming up in September, and it's going to be really, really powerful. It's going to deeply connect us to our hearts, and there might even be some poetry involved. I hope this served you. Satnam.